And we start with breaking news as the battle to liberate the historic Syrian city of Palmyra drew to a close on Thursday. An RT crew was able to capture exclusive video footage there. According to Syrian and Russian officials, the Pearl of the Desert, as it is often known, has now been fully recaptured by the two allies. Here are the images our correspondent Lizzie Phelan sent us from the city just before and after the victory.
We're now on a hilltop where we have a great view of the whole city of Palmyra, and we can see where some of the fiercest fighting to retake Palmyra is taking place. To the left, this white building is a hotel that just in the last 15 minutes or so, pro-government forces have retaken. In the center, we can see those precious ruins of the ancient city of Palmyra. On the right, we can see several pillars of smoke where right now fierce battles are taking place for the airport. This is the southern front line. We're being told this is where the fiercest fighting is taking place. There's currently fighting on three front lines, the south, west and north. But right here, the battle very, very fierce. Over around 100 ISIS fighters, we're being told, who have in their possession tanks, big caliber machine guns and ZUs, double-barreled anti-aircraft guns. Our pursuit of pro-government forces has brought us to what was the northern front line in Palmyra. We've been given exclusive access to the famous citadel where we are now. We're the first journalists to get here. This site overlooks the entire city. This is the entrance to the citadel. As you can see, it's being guarded. We can't go in because ISIS filled the citadel with mines before they fled. Now, it's been reported that pro-government forces, with the support of Russian attack helicopters, have now taken control of the entire city of Palmyra. We know that Syrian army soldiers are in fact stationed in the ancient city amongst those famous ruins. We're waiting for daylight. Hopefully we'll be able to get the chance to go to those ruins to assess the state that ISIS have left them in. We know that once again they've destroyed parts of those ruins, but ultimately ISIS have been defeated here for a second time in this city that historically has been a crossroads between multiple civilizations, the Pearl of the Desert, the UNESCO World Heritage City of Palmyra.
Palmyra's liberation was first announced by the Russian president's spokesman, citing the defense ministry. Later, top Syrian officials also said that they had managed to push the militants out of the city. And these are pictures showing fighting on the outskirts of Palmyra earlier on Tuesday. The ruins of the city clearly visible too. Now, our video agency, Ripley, has also managed to film ISIL's now former headquarters in Palmyra. The luxury Mazab Palace was once owned by Qatar royal family. It was reportedly used as a training center by the terrorists. Maria Finoshina, who has been covering the Syrian conflict since it began 6 years ago, earlier spoke to my colleague Yunan O'Neill about the liberation of Palmyra and its importance.
Now we hear that Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu has reported to President Vladimir Putin that the Syrian troops backed by the Russian airstrikes have finally managed to recapture the ancient city of Palmyra. We also hear that heavy artillery is still used. There are sporadic clashes in the northern part of the city. So the situation is very dramatic still on the ground. Palmyra was first seized by the militants of so-called Islamic State in May 2015, and that was a tragedy. 2,000-year-old architectural landmarks have been destroyed by ISIL, such as famous Arch of Triumph or Temple of Bel and many, many other. And it was very important for the Syrian side to take it back. And in March 2016, the Syrian troops, again with the help of its allies, managed to regain control over Palmyra. There was very symbolic victory, and in May 2016, a famous conductor, Russian conductor Gergiev, led a concert there in the ruins of Palmyra, where just months before that, ISIL staged a mass execution of a large number of Syrian military. It was a beautiful response. But in December, actually, the army's resources are limited, and when they were busy in Aleppo in Syria's north, the jihadists managed to regroup and attack Palmyra again, and they retook it again. According to different reports, there were up to 5,000 fighters in that attack. According to some sources, including Russia's defense ministry, they were those who were leaving Iraq, Mosul. They were pushed back from there by US-led coalition, and at that time, US was accused for allowing them to go and to cross the Iraqi-Syrian border. In the last 3 months, we have been hearing about severe clashes and severe fighting there. And now, finally, the control is regained by the Syrian troops. But of course, it is a long way to go before the place is 100% safe.
Max Abrams, a professor of international relations at Northeastern University, believes that the liberation of Palmyra represents a significant step forward in the fight against ISIS.
Palmyra might be understood as an extension of Aleppo, which is another, government victory. Palmyra was a symbol in the West of the way it liked to portray the war, which was in terms of Assad's weakness and in terms of, the inability of Russian air power to remove Islamic State. And so I remember very well when Islamic State captured Palmyra from the Syrian army, the Western media was abuzz about how, the Syrian government was completely feckless and that Islamic State was on the march. And although this city has changed hands a number of times, I think that this is a permanent retaking of Palmyra, because I think that Islamic State will continue to get weaker and weaker, not just in Syria, but also in Iraq. And so we're going to continue to see the Syrian military, coupled with Russian air power, reclaim Syrian territory.
First this hour, Islamic State terrorists are rapidly retreating westwards after being pushed out of the Syrian city of Palmyra. In their wake, they had set fire to the Hayyan gas fields. And this now is exclusive footage that was filmed by our Rutley video agency. As you can see there, black smoke rising high into the sky from those burning gas outlets. Our correspondent Lizzie Phelan witnessed the incident and sent us this report.
This huge fire is the Hayyan gas field in the Homs countryside in the mountains overlooking Palmyra that were until very recently under the control of ISIS. ISIS set this gas field on fire before they were defeated, and just next to it, this is the Hayyan company that ISIS blew up in January, inflicting electricity blackouts on Syrian people, particularly in the capital, Damascus. Now, all across this landscape, there you can see more fires from the gas fields, and further beyond, fire from oil fields that were set alight by ISIS. So despite the fact that ISIS have now been defeated here, they're still inflicting huge economic damage and huge suffering on the Syrian people, because because of this sabotage that they have done. Throughout the day today, we've been taken by pro-government forces through the mountains that overlook Palmyra. And the battle for the city of Palmyra really didn't take place in the city itself. The bulk of the fighting took place here in the mountains, because once you control the mountains, you overlook the city and you control the city itself. The fighting here between the opposing sides was extremely close, in some cases almost hand to hand. We've seen many ISIS tanks scattered throughout these mountains, but they're still not that far away. They're still on mountaintops to the northeast of Palmyra. Pro-government forces, for now, not advancing any further. They're on standby, waiting for further orders.